Last spring I had 3 bare patches in my front Bermuda that just would not fill in. So I did something the patch product companies would rather I didn't. I mixed my own repair blend in a 5-gallon bucket for about $2, spread it, and watered. 11 days later, you couldn't tell where the dirt had been. Here's the thing. The lawn care aisle sells you a little jug of seed glued in green mulch for $20. And it's mostly filler designed to fail just enough that you buy another. I'll show you the 4-ingredient mix that beats it cold. And stay with me, because there's one cheap kitchen shelf ingredient I stir in that nobody at the garden center will ever mention. Let me name names here, because vague villains are how you end up sounding like a crank. The folks I'm talking about are the lawn repair patch product industry. The companies that sell you that little jug of seed glued into green mulch for around $20. That's the category. That's who'd rather you didn't watch this. Now here's the anchor, and you can go check it yourself. The Federal Seed Act of 1939 requires every seed product sold in this country to carry a label tag. That tag lists 3 things: percent pure seed, percent inert matter, and the germination rate. It's the law. So read the label. I say that in every video for a reason. Pull one of those patch jugs off the shelf and actually read it. A big share of that bag's weight isn't seed at all. It's inert matter, paper mulch, wood fiber, and a moisture indicator dye that turns from dark to light when it dries out. The pure seed percentage? Low. Lower than you'd ever guess paying $20 for it. Here's the math on what that costs you. You spend around $20 a jug. You spread it on your bare spot. 3-4 weeks later, you've got partial fill. Thin, patchy, not the solid carpet you wanted. So next season you buy another jug. And another. $20 at a time. Season after season. And that whole time, the bare spot stays open. That's the part nobody warns you about. Bare ground isn't neutral. It's disturbed, sunlit, exposed soil, which is exactly the conditions weeds want. While you're waiting weeks for that store seed to limp in, crabgrass and broadleaf weeds are colonizing the gap. The 4 ingredients I'm about to show you cost about $2, and you probably own most of them already. They're cheap commodities. And cheap commodities are exactly what a recurring revenue category can't afford to put on a billboard. So they don't. Let's walk through the mix together. 4 ingredients. A 5-gallon bucket, about $2. Here's the math, and here's exactly what goes in. Ingredient 1 is grass seed matched to the lawn you already have. That's the part most people skip, and it's the whole game. For my front yard, that's Bermuda. Bermuda 419 is what's growing out there, so Bermuda seed is what fills the gap. If you're up north on a cool season lawn, you're matching to fescue or Kentucky bluegrass instead. Match the seed to what's already there, or the patch comes in a different color and texture, and you've just traded one eyesore for another. You don't need much. A patch only needs a small handful of seed, spread at the proper rate for that grass. That's pennies. Ingredient 2 is sifted finished compost. Run it through a 1/4-inch screen so it's fine and crumbly, no chunks. This is your soil contact base. It's also free nutrition. Most lawn owners already have a bag of it sitting in the garage, or a pile out back. Ingredient 3 is peat moss, or coconut coir if you'd rather. Either one works. This is your moisture sponge. It holds water right against the seed and lets go of it slow, so the seed never dries out between waterings. Commodity material, a few cents per scoop out of a bale. Ingredient 4 is a small handful of high phosphorus starter fertilizer. Read the label and look for the middle number, the P, the phosphorus. You want 18% or higher. Starter fert is built to drive root establishment, which is exactly what a brand new seedling needs. A handful, no more. The proportions are simple. Roughly equal parts compost and peat or coir. Seed worked through at the proper rate. a handful of that starter fert stirred in. Mix it dry in the bucket until it's one uniform blend. That's it. $2 a bucket, and one bucket covers more ground than the store jug ever did. And the reason you've never seen this 4-part recipe printed on a shelf tag is simple. There's nothing on that tag to sell you. Now here's where it gets interesting. Why does this beat the store jug cold? It comes down to 3 things working together, and the jug only fakes one of them. First, seed-to-soil contact. Seed needs to be touching real soil to germinate well. The compost in your mix gives the seed a fine, crumbly bed to sit in and root straight down into. The store jug doesn't do this. That green stuff in the jug is mostly paper and wood fiber, and it sits on top of the soil like a little blanket. The seed is glued into the blanket, not pressed into the ground. So a lot of that seed germinates into fluff and never makes it down to dirt. Second, constant moisture. Seed that dries out even once is seed that dies. The peat or coir in your mix holds water right against every seed and releases it slowly all day. The green mulch in the jug, that dye in it is a moisture indicator. It turns lighter when it's dry to tell you to water. That's a clever feature, but notice what it actually does. It tells you the seed already dried out. It doesn't prevent it. It reports the problem after it's happened. Third, immediate nutrition. The minute those roots emerge, the starter fertilizer is right there, feeding them phosphorus to build a root system fast. The jug gives the seedling nothing. It's seed and fluff. So even the seed that does germinate comes up hungry and weak. And here's the thing the jug really doesn't want you to do. Read the label. The Federal Seed Act makes them print the pure seed percentage right there on the tag, and on a lot of these patch products that number is low. A big share of the weight is inert paper mulch and dye. You're paying $20 for a jug that's mostly filler with a sprinkle of seed in it. The mix you're holding is nearly all working material. That's why suppression couldn't ever fully kill this technique. The biology is on your side. You can fake one ingredient with mulch and dye. You can't fake all 3. So let's talk about what that actually buys you, in days and in dollars. On my front Bermuda last spring, I scratched in this mix on 3 bare patches. Germination started coming up around day 4 to day 6. By day 11, you could not tell where the dirt had been. 11 days. Solid green carpet, same color, same texture as the lawn around it. Compare that to the store jug. The jug, if it works at all, gives you partial fill in 3 to 4 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks for thin, patchy coverage. 11 days for a solid fill. That's not a small edge. That's a different league. And here's the math on cost. The jug runs about $20 and covers one small spot. Your bucket runs about $2, because the compost and the peat are bulk commodities you mostly already own. The seed is a small handful, and the starter fert is a scoop out of a bag you probably bought for the whole lawn anyway. $2 versus $20. And that $2 bucket covers more square footage than several of those jugs. So you're getting faster results, fuller results, and 10 times the value. The store product isn't priced like that by accident. It's priced like that because partial fill in 3 to 4 weeks is exactly the result that sends you back to the aisle next season. That low pure seed number on the tag isn't a mistake. It's the business model. Now, none of this works if you skip the prep. This is the part most homeowners get wrong, and it's the part that separates an 11-day fill from a flop. You can't just toss the mix on hard, dead ground and hope. I learned that the hard way back on lawn number 1, my very first professional Texas lawn in '93. I sprayed on a windy afternoon, burned half the turf, and then tried to patch it by throwing seed on bare baked clay. Nothing took. The seed needs an open door. So first, scarify the spot. Take a hard rake or a garden weasel and scratch up the surface of the bare patch. Rake out the dead thatch and the dead grass until you're looking at fresh, loosened soil. You want the top quarter-inch broken open so the seed and compost can nestle in and make contact. That disturbed soil is the door. Next, spread your mix over the scratched spot, maybe a quarter to a half-inch thick, and then press it in. Walk on it, tamp it with the back of the rake. Press it down firm so the mix is married to the soil underneath. Loose mix blows away and dries out. Pressed mix stays put and holds moisture. Seed to soil contact, remember. You're forcing it. Then water. And here's the rule that trips people up. Light and frequent, not heavy and once. You're keeping that peat constantly moist, not flooding it. A light watering twice a day, morning and late afternoon. Just enough to keep the surface dark and damp. Never let it dry out and never drown it. Keep that up until germination, then you can back off as the roots go down. And the last piece, the one nobody respects, is timing by soil temperature, not by the calendar. Bermuda is a warm season grass. Bermuda seed will not germinate in cold soil. Period. You need soil temperature up around 65 to 70 degrees and climbing before you put Bermuda seed down. Down here in Texas, that's late spring into early summer. If you're cool season, fescue, or bluegrass, it's the opposite. You want the cooler shoulder seasons. Early fall is best when the soil's coming down out of summer heat. Put a soil thermometer in the ground and let it tell you when. Guess on the timing and the best mix in the world rots in the ground. Precision plants grass. Guessing plants disappointment. And the garden center will happily sell you a jug in the wrong month because a jug that fails in April is a jug you rebuy in May. Now, before we keep going, I want to tell you about something. That bare spot we just filled? It was never just an ugly patch. It was open ground. Disturbed, sunlit, exposed soil, which is the exact alarm clock that wakes up the weed seed bank sitting in your dirt. That's why your bare spots fill with weeds before grass ever shows up. If you're tired of that cycle, the full explanation of why it happens and how to shut it down for good is in Chapter 2 of my book, Larry's 30-Day Weed Kill Protocol. The chapter's called The Weed Cycle, Understanding Your Enemy, and it lays out exactly what's living in that soil and why it keeps coming back. The whole book is $17 at larrysgardenbooks.com. If you're watching this on your TV, go ahead and grab your phone and point it at the QR code on the screen. Take your time finding it, I'll be right here. And if you're on your phone or laptop already, the link is right down in the description. This isn't another tip to manage the symptom. It's the permanent fix for folks who are flat worn out by the cycle. All right, let's talk about why this mix isn't on a shelf. Here's the thing. The patch jug is a recurring revenue category. That's a fancy way of saying the whole business model depends on you coming back next spring. Think about it. If that jug filled your bare spot completely, in 11 days, the first time, you'd never buy another one. So the product is built to give you partial success. Slow success. The pure seed percentage is kept low. The green mulch is engineered to indicate dryness instead of holding real moisture. And the spot fills in maybe 2/3 of the way over 3 or 4 weeks. Just enough that you think it sort of worked. Just enough that you reach for it again. And the 4 ingredients in my bucket: compost, peat, or coir seed, and a scoop of starter fert. Every one of those is sold separately as a cheap commodity in the same store. There's no margin in telling you to combine them in a 5-gallon bucket. Nobody makes an extra dime when you mix your own. So nobody tells you. Now, I want to be straight with you because this audience is too smart for a one-sided pitch. The jug is convenient. It's pre-measured. It's mess-free. You shake it out and you're done. That's a real benefit, and I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But you're paying roughly 10 times the price for that convenience, and you're getting slower, patchier results in return. $20 versus 2. 4 weeks versus 11 days. That's the trade. And here's the part that actually costs you. Every season you rebuy, that bare spot sits open longer. Remember what I said about disturbed, sunlit soil. While you're waiting 3 or 4 weeks for a jug to limp along, the weed seed bank is wide awake in that gap. Crabgrass, spurge, whatever's living in your soil, it colonizes open ground before the grass ever has a chance. So the slow product doesn't just cost you $20. It costs you a weed problem on top of it. You pay twice. That's not an accident. That's the design. A spot that fills fast is a spot weeds never get into. And a homeowner who fills fast for $2 is a customer that category loses forever. All right, now for the ingredient nobody at the garden center will ever say out loud: ground cinnamon. The same jar that's in your spice cabinet right now. 1 to 2 tablespoons stirred into the bucket. That's it. Here's why it matters. When you create a warm, moist, nutrient-rich patch mix, you've also created the perfect nursery for damping off fungus. Pythium, Rhizoctonia, Fusarium. These are soil pathogens that thrive in exactly those conditions, and they kill grass seedlings the moment they emerge. The seed germinates, pushes up a tiny shoot, and then the stem rots right at the soil line and the seedling collapses. You never even see it happen. You just see a spot that didn't fill in. That's one more hidden reason the store patches fail just enough. Cinnamon is a natural antifungal. It suppresses those damping off pathogens right in the bucket before they ever get a foothold. I started using it after I noticed seedlings collapsing in my densest, wettest patches, the ones I'd watered hardest, thinning out for no reason I could see. Once I started stirring in cinnamon, that stopped. The application is simple. Stir it through the dry compost and peat first. A light dusting, then add your seed. Don't overdo it. A tablespoon or 2 per bucket is plenty. The garden center will never mention this, and the reason is the same as everything else today. It's a commodity spice. There's no product to sell. Before I let you go, if today made you realize you've been fighting this whole thing the wrong way, I want to point you somewhere. You can fill a bare spot for $2 now instead of $20. But here's the bigger shift. That bare open soil was a weed problem waiting to happen. And the real fix is learning to think prevention instead of reaction. That's the entire thesis of Chapter 1 of my book, Larry's 30-Day Weed Kill Protocol. It's called Why Everything You Know About Weeds is Wrong, and it resets how you see your whole lawn. 88 pages, $17, at larrysgardenbooks.com. If you're on your TV, grab your phone and point it at the QR code on screen. No rush, take a second to pull it up. I'll wait right here. And if you're on your phone or laptop, the link is down in the description. This isn't another tip. It's the permanent fix for folks who are flat worn out by the cycle. All right, here's the takeaway. 4 ingredients in a 5-gallon bucket: seed, compost, peat or coir, and a handful of starter fert, plus a tablespoon of cinnamon, fills a bare spot in about 11 days for $2 and beats the $20 jug cold. Now you know the mix the patch aisle would rather you didn't. Next time I'll show you the natural pre-emergent timing trick with corn gluten that stops crabgrass before it ever germinates, and the soil temperature signal that tells you exactly when to pull the trigger. Go mix yourself a bucket. I'll see you in the next one.